All right, so good morning, everybody. I'm Brunella Rodriguez, and I'm assistant professor of wood utilization and biomaterials in this department. And it is my pleasure to welcome and introduce our first speaker of our spring semester, Dr. Soledad Peresin. So I will let her to introduce herself because that's much better. Okay, please help me to welcome Dr. Soledad.
Thank you very for inviting me to this seminar series, and thank you for being here today to hear my presentation. So I'm the new director of the Wood Utilization and Design Institute, and I will share with you today what we are up to with the Institute and a little bit of my background and why would you all be thinking about being part of the Wood Institute as well. I asked Brunella I was going to introduce myself because I think that as in a seminar series for grad students, it's always interesting to hear about where your speakers are, what is the background of people and how people end up being the way, like why people is speaking on your on this part of the room as well. So I am a very southern girl. I am from Argentina. I was born and raised in Argentina. I did my undergrad studies there. I have a bachelor degree in analytical chemistry, and I spent about 4 years working in a pulp and paper center there that it was called the Cellulose Technology Institute. So when I started my academic journey, when I was an undergrad student, I wanted to be an engineer, and that didn't really work out for me. And I will be happy to entertain that comment and those conversations during lunch if you're interested on how my career pathway took me to where I am today. But I came across chemistry. I fell in love with chemistry, and I ended up being a sort of a forest products person with an emphasis on chemistry and surface chemistry as well. So with a very small detour through the national center in Argentina, I got a scholarship, like some of you in this room, as an international student to get my PhD back in the time was in the program of paper science at NC State. That while I arrived to NC State to be a paper science engineer again, that didn't work out again as an engineer because the program changed to forest biomaterials. So I ended up receiving a degree in forest biomaterials, and I learned a whole new area that it was on nanocellulose, and I will hopefully I'll have time to touch upon what nanocellulose is and why this opened my mind and my career into a whole new area that I never thought I was gonna do. So during my PhD, I took the opportunity to visit Finland. So I was a visiting scholar for 6 months as a postdoc fellow in Aalto University, working also with nanocellulose development. But I really liked at the time, or I thought that I liked Finland. And I came back, graduated, got my PhD, and went back to Finland to work at VTT, which is a research center in Finland. And I thought it was going to be also 1 year as a postdoc. I ended up being there for a total of 5 years, working as a scientist in this center. And I had the opportunity to see how this very small country in Scandinavia turned around the forest products crisis that they had in the time, about 15, 17 years ago, where they started seeing the decline of the pulp and paper industry and how they diversified their forest product portfolio to become one of the leaders in innovative products where they are today. So in 2016, I came back to the States because I decided that the cold weather wasn't my thing, really. And I came back to Auburn University, where I did my tenure track in the College of Forestry, Wildlife and Environment with an appointment in chemical engineering department. That I developed my research program around sustainable bio-based materials. So I spent there 9 years trying to understand the structure function relationship between different types of biomass and how to become or how to create new products with these materials. So it was a really interesting almost decade over there. I was a faculty member teaching in the Sustainable Biomaterials and Packaging program at Auburn University. until this position came open, and I came to Clemson August 1st, 2024. So I've been here shy of 6 months as the director of the Wood Institute, and I am a faculty member in this department as well, with an courtesy appointment in material science and engineering. So, I guess my career pathway took me, as a nutshell, what I do is I work on diversification of forest products. So I kind of collected all those tools under my belt that made me what I am today, which is a mix of surface and colloidal chemist, product development, polymers and material science, and pulp and paper engineer. So all together in a way that we are trying to understand this biomass and how to make profit out of it. And I will elaborate a little bit on why this is important, and we are in a very good timing on our region, particularly where we need to address some of these issues for the good of our community as well, particularly being in a land-grant institution as Clemson. I don't know why this is not showing here, but the title of this slide is like.
You click OK, it'll go.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. So wood is good, and it's really, really good because we can address using wood, we can answer some, if not all, of society's most urgent challenges. And I see Brunella nodding because she knows that I'm saying this is true. So through wood and some the future of wood and material innovation and thinking about circular bioeconomy, we can really think about most of the problems that our current and our society are going through, and I will share with you some of those, and hopefully by the end of this hour you will agree with me and you will have an interest on addressing some of your topics and your research questions in your topic from the material science perspective, and we will spark some interesting conversations as well. So South Carolina forest industry. So we have very similarly to the south, the entire southeast region in the United States. More than 2/3 of our formula is privately owned. So that brings a lot of opportunities, right? So if you think the West versus the South, the West versus the East, and the private versus the publicly owned land, the privately owned land means that we can make profit out of it. And this is what has happened traditionally in the Southeast. This privately owned land has been influxing a lot of money into the economy of the southeastern states, particularly in the state of South Carolina. The forest industry contributes about $23 billion to the economy, whether that's direct jobs or labor income or direct economic input. This is fantastic news because this is something that we are all interested in, and that's why we study how to manage those forests in a sustainable way, why we are interested on sustainable products, and why we are interested in this circular bio-based economy as well around forest products. However, as you know, the forest industry is hurting very badly, and you know that every day we hear and we wake up to bad news or news on either a sawmill or a pulp mill being shut down in the state or in neighbor states, such as Georgia or North Carolina, that this doesn't not only cause loss of employment, but also creates a whole entire problem with the ecosystem, because now we have all that biomass and all those trees that they are not being taken care properly because there are no markets for those trees and for those residuals in those forests. So this is a real issue, and it's a very important one that we really need to think about how to address. Again, I mentioned the land-grant institution mission, thinking about our stakeholders. We are due to help them, and this is something that we really need to start thinking about from all type of perspectives. So if you are familiar with the Wood Utilization and Design Institute, it has been established. If you look at the outdated website, because we haven't managed to change it yet, it was established as a multidisciplinary engine of innovation where foresters, architects, engineers, contractors, and building industry stakeholders came together to design advancement in wood-based construction materials to compete with steel, concrete, and other materials. currently non-residential construction. So really focusing in the utilization of wood, mainly on the construction area. This institute has been established by Dr. Pat Layton, that most of you know, and she was a faculty member also from the institute that recently retired. And her retirement spanned a big endowment that allowed this directorship to be filled, which this position. And I am bringing the new vision of the institute is trying to like move from the building industry and trying to like move the focus of the institute from construction to other aspects of the utilization of wood, and I will share with you some of those ideas today. So the Wood Institute, as I said, was established in 2012 by Provost Jones as a coalescence between three colleges: the College of Art, or CAFUS, where we are sitting as the College of Forestry, the Department of Forestry, the CICAS, the College of Engineering, and the College of Architecture, Art, and Construction. So this institute is like multi-college, and it has faculty members from different college and different disciplines. So it's a very interesting mix of people and expertise as well. And if you look at the mission back then, in 2012, as I said, it was really built to increase the use of wood in sustainable construction, in mass timber. And you have seen the impact that this institute has had across campus and across the state, where Clemson and South Carolina became the top place where the rest of the country would look, where we talk about mass timber construction and wood-centric buildings developed. And there's a whole lot of history and a lot of credibility that this institute has brought to the university as well. So one thing that we can think about in the terms of utilization, and again, what I say when we are trying to move from construction to utilization in the broader sense of the utilization, what do I mean with that? So think about how many of you have visited a pulp mill or a sawmill in this class? Anybody? I'm glad for me that you did. So if you think about traditional ways of processing biomass, when you take a log to a pulp mill and it's chipped up to make pulp wood for making paper. So you bring the chips, you cook them literally with some chemicals, and 50% of that biomass will end up in paper, and the rest of the 50% will be burned into energy. And then it will be a great system because it's a net gain, it's always biorefinery of the waste, if you wish. That 50% is a side stream that from one product, which is paper. Similarly, in the traditional sawmill, the log comes and 70% will come as an engineered lumber, and 30% will be chips that they were like, or sawdust, that they will be a side stream as well. So this is the linear traditional way that we've been doing things forever in the forest industry. What about if we start looking into a more efficient use of natural resources? And I mentioned in the title of my talk, circularity, and how can we start thinking about the efficient use of biomass in a way that we can create a circularity and add value to this biomass as well? What about if we bring the log and the chips and we have multiple products coming out of this operation? So we take the pulp for paper as a one major product, but then in the way we collect the lignin and we make products, we take the tall oil, we take wood dust for bioethanol or whatnot. And then this is like stolen from our Finnish partners as well. But then a projection that what this means if we diversify our portfolio of forest products, and then we start thinking about if we continue doing what we are doing the same way as we've been doing so far, we are going to continue making the same margin, or we're going to start losing money. But if we start adding value to this really it will enable a sustainable economic growth that will have the potential to bring back some of that gain back to the stakeholders or the landowners in the beginning of the supply chain, so to speak. So the new mission that I bring to the Institute is like, how do we, like, can we drive innovation in wood and renewable-based materials through, again, research, design, and industry collaboration to build sustainable solutions to South Carolina and beyond, from the traditional uses of biomass, from housing, communication, and transportation, to a whole new a range of markets that you can think of driving the circular innovation in wood and renewable materials. And here are some examples of things that you can do with wood. The obvious ones, like packaging, of course, paper packaging, membranes, composites. But then you start like getting out of your comfort zone or your imagination, and you start thinking, yeah, you can put cellulose in cosmetics. You can put cellulose in food. You know that you eat cellulose when you use your Parmesan cheese, you put sodas on it. It does. So you can have a functional textile that comes like from wood instead of cotton, which is a lot more sustainable crop than cotton. That is like grown more sustainably than cotton. Agribusiness, we can make like prills for delivery, for controlled release of agrochemicals using cellulose instead of acrylics or acrylates or plastics. We can start like going very advanced. We can do like smart sensors and bring the electronics. We can replace LED phone screens with cellulose-based materials. So we can really, when I say we can solve all the problems we can, now with the cost will be a whole different story, the cost and the scale, but it's possible. And the advances are there, the proof of concept, and then I will share some of those with you today. So this is our new vision on the Institute, and there is a lot of work to do, and I will share some of the work we've done so far today. So with this vision in mind, the new programmatic areas that we are going to explore, again, we are not going away from the wood construction of mass timber. We're going to continue that because that's the foundation of our institute. The Wood Institute is based in wood construction and mass timber, and think about this as a reshaping the skyline through sustainability, so to speak. Good buildings are beautiful, and we cannot wait to move from this building to the new forest building, right? Who's waiting for that? Yeah. So the second programmatic area that we are going to expand on is bio-based materials and advanced manufacturing. Again, all those new areas, advanced manufacturing, even including 3D printing as well, bio-based adhesives, and all kind of new industries that we can increase the renewable materials, kind of like moving from fossil-based materials and carbon, or like old carbon materials to new carbon or biogenic carbon-based materials and chemicals as well. The third one, which is like relatively linked together but slightly different, is the circular bioeconomy and side stream valorization. And that's 70% or 50% residuals from traditional pulp mills or sawmill operations. What can we do with those? Can we close the loop of circularity and create value that will finally make it back to the landowners, turning waste into carbon? How can we get all these carbon gurus back in the room here to put numbers on those and make sure that we can account for those as well, and make when we claim that these materials are circular, we have a story to tell, and we have numbers that they are backing up. We have scientific data backing this up. And the third one, again, for a system on carbon analytics, that we can scientifically model climate resilient decision making for this. Again, closing the loop and understanding and bringing back the sustainable management, and why we should not sell that land, why we should find those markets so we can help these landowners to keep up their business. And the fifth one, which is an umbrella for all the previous one, is workforce development and experiential learning. Since we are already doing that, but the idea is to increase it. And as we expand the portfolio and we expand on or diversify the industry, we will need new sets of skills. So we need to get our students from all, not only grad students, but undergrads and beyond K-16. I heard the term K-16. I thought it was very innovative. K-16 ready to enter this workforce development. If you ask me, the solution to the forest industry crisis, it won't come from the forest industry. It will come from other niches. It will come from alternative markets that we will create where we can put that biomass to it, where I share with you. So, with that being said, we are in the new area of biomaterials. Again, the sustainability needing this product development with all kind of agroforests. And again, this is like the Wood Institute, but most of these technologies and these products and this product development is agnostic to the type of biomass. We can do this with trees, we can do this with soybean hulls, we can do this with peanut hulls. So if you are working with any kind of these other crops and you have a waste stream, think about wood because we can help as well. We can close that loop. We can think about circularity. We can also help through biomaterials with food security. We can work with environmental health. We can really work on advancing this development and certainly commercialization. And where I continue pushing the agenda of collaboration because, again, the United States, in my opinion, or North America, is like really behind on some of these advancements because we have plenty of biomass and we never had the need to diversify. Well, now we do have the need to create those markets. But what can we learn from those international partners that they had to diversify a long time ago because they don't have enough biomass, because they don't have enough land to grow that biomass, because they have to become very creative, because they have to become circular because they don't have where to put their waste. What can we learn? Can we create partnerships that they are like meaningful and we can move those initiatives and influence positively the government and those decision makers to remove those barriers for commercialization? Sounds very easy, but it's not. So we need to think about it together. So definitely when and this I should not take credit for this slide because it's Brunella's conversation came out of Brunella. Brunella is like, everybody wants to come and visit Woody, and Woody is not a building. He said, where do I take people when they want to come visit Woody? Woody is not a building, it's a community. It's a community of people that is bringing that partnership and those conversations together as well. So I invite you to think about this and become a part of the community. In the last part of this presentation, I want to share with you some of our projects that we've been working together. And some of these are new and some of these are established partnerships that I'm picking up and continuing. And this is only a snapshot of what's going on, because I won't possibly include everything that is going there. But before we get into that, I want to show you, to spark some ideas into you, is like, it is possible, and there are like already products that are commercially available. There are things that you can touch, you can see, and people is making a lot of money out of this as well with this. Well, the first one is very obvious, construction. We know already. We think we will be living in a building that is made out of wood in the new forestry building. So construction is a no-brainer. Wood buildings are more pleasant. There is data that backs up that they are like more efficient, they are more fire resistant, and you name it. So they are like certainly a good way to use a good market for wood. So last October 2023, there was the first rocket, or like the first satellite that was made out of wood that was launched into space. How many of you knew that? You knew that. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Why do you think that that's important? Why do you think that a wooden satellite is a breakthrough in science and in society? Anybody can take a guess? What will happen to that satellite over the cycle of the satellite? Break down. It will break down. What happens if it's plastic or like carbon fiber, super dense microplastics everywhere? Or it will fall down and break a whole community? What will happen with the wooden one? It will just burn. It will burn when it comes back. and it's a lot lighter. So it's a lot lighter because part of this one has components that is called nanocellulose. I will bore you for like another seminar series. If you want to invite me, I can talk about nanocellulose too. And I have some slides if I run out of slides to talk about that too. But this is a great opportunity for our advance. And again, when we talk about new markets, we have those markets that they are like big volumes and relatively low value, small volumes, big value, aerospace, fortunes. The Department of Defense and the Department of Aerospace, they don't look at budget. They need performance. They need to make sure that things work. The nano car, again, the nanocellulose. That's me, and that is the guru of nanocellulose in Japan. And that car is made out of panels that have wood in it. It has panels on nanocellulose, and these are the specs on it. It has panels on the side that are composite with nanocellulose fibers. It has a laminate. There is a transparent roof that is laminated between two polycarbonate laminates. And it has all kind of auto parts that they are made out of nanocellulose. That car was driven at 70 kilometers an hour. What is that in miles an hour? 130 miles an hour. And I saw a video of it. I touched the car. I didn't ride on it. But the energy efficiency of this car was 13% less than a car that was made with the materials that you drive on the cars that you drive. Why? Because nanocellulose is lighter, and nanocellulose performs well in terms of all the specs that you can think of in the carbon fiber composite and you name it. What a breakthrough in energy efficiency. And it's good, it's out of a tree, and it's sustainable, and it's compostable, and it's all the things. So a lot of manufacturers of auto makers are looking into this as well. And as I know, this car was made possible by an investment from the Japanese government. Just saying. Cellulose fibers as well from birch. So Finland again. So the Finnish colleagues at VTT and some other universities, they develop a process where they can make fibers out of birch fibers directly instead of cotton. And they prove that these cellulose fibers, or the textile fibers made out of birch, they have much better properties than the cotton fibers as well. Marimekko is a designer in Finland or in Scandinavia that has this very, in my opinion, very ugly design. It's very difficult. So if you see these big flowers, you know that it's like Finnish design. So Marimekko picked it up and made a whole entire runway with the birch fibers, and it was a huge deal for Finland because it was like a runway with birch fibers that they were feeding their paper companies that they were not making paper anymore, but now they're making textile fibers, and they are picked up by one of their brand designers that they are like the top ones in the country, and Japan loves this for whatever reason too. So it was such a big deal that this was 2018, the first lady of Finland in the Independence Day, she wore an entire gown made out of birch fibers too. So I thought that this is the best story to tell because it's like, what a story. 2018, are we behind? But again, partnership and learning what people is doing and how they done it and what did they do that didn't work too. What are we doing here? So we're building capacity, and this is just a couple of things that we are working on. Some of them, packaging, certainly packaging science is next door to us. We are definitely partnering now with the packaging groups, not into new products for product development, but also sensing and intelligent packaging. I'll show you a couple of slides that tells a little bit more on it. We can also, these are kind of the obvious one. Crop protection, I mentioned to you earlier, we can use cellulose, and I also tell you a little bit more about that, affordable housing, asphalt binders. I'll show you a little bit more examples on this as well. I won't talk about the small one, but again, additive manufacturing, we've been working on 3D printing panels instead of like pressing panels of particle board using a massive 3D printer using bio-based, nanocellulose-based adhesives. Water remediation, I'll show you some about that, bio-based, you name it. And then also functional textile mosquito nets, spinning off of that birch fibers. We're also using low-lolly pine fibers that they are soaked with pyrethroids, another pesticide where we can create functional and mosquito repellent textiles as well, which is the coolest thing ever. So as I said, like we are continuing on with our established partnerships. We have these legacy projects that they are around advancing the building material with wood and affordable housing and all the testing. And you see familiar faces here with the faculty from the department with Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Layton, civil engineering, very active faculty member in the institute with also architecture and design, very well-funded programs that they are very successful in the area of affordable housing, deployable units where you can think about not only for the Army, where you can come very quickly and fold and default a whole entire village for the soldiers, but also for resilient communities after catastrophic events such as hurricane, for example. Think about how cool that be. That all is like made out of wood as well. Some other prototype demo projects that we are also trying to work on, light frame construction system that we can use as a demonstration, that we can put it perhaps in the middle of campus, so we can plug and play all these innovative projects, that we can have like sidings that they are made of bio-based composites, or like paints that they are using lignin nanoparticles or nanocellulose-based adhesives as well, that we can demonstrate those technologies as well. And hopefully we'll get funding. We haven't heard about this one yet. I mentioned about the lignin as asphalt binder. How many of you heard the word lignin before? Yes, all of you. Yes, good. So have you heard? I'm assuming that you heard that you can make everything from lignin but money. So you can burn lignin in the mill, but you cannot make anything with money. So these two gentlemen here, faculty members in chemical engineering, a new process on how to isolate lignin. It's called the slurp. But they also develop a way of making liquid lignin. That is like a way of extract a specific fatty acid to the lignin and make a liquid lignin, and depending on which fatty acid they use, they can control the melting temperature of this lignin, which is great because lignin in the nature form, when they take it out from the craft process, is a dust, and it's very flammable, so it's very difficult to transport in a safe way. So this liquid lignin has a lot of potential. They are trying very hard to make it to the market for that scale. And one of the applications that we are looking into is like as a binder for asphalt. So asphalt, again, lignin smells, lignin is black, so you don't want lignin in a lot of applications, but in asphalt, it doesn't matter. So we can look into the bitumen market. And if you look at those numbers, so the United States only consumes 30 million tons per year of bitumen. And then if we can use or replace 20 to 50% of bitumen in asphalt in only the United States, that's humongous. So that's a huge market for forest products as well. So we can absorb a large amount of that biomass into the asphalt sector. So we have a big effort in the institute going that direction. I mentioned active packaging, intelligent packaging. These are some of the examples that we're working on with Dr. Whiteside and some of the faculty in mechanical engineering as well, where we can dope the nanocellulose again. Nanocellulose has the particularity. They have a very large surface area, so a little bit takes you long ways. So you can modify a very small amount of nanocellulose with a pH-dependent material, for example, and then expand that effect. And you can have like pH-enabled sensing. So imagine a packaging that has a cellulose film on top that it will change color when your food rottens inside. That changes the pH. So it goes from transparent to pink, and then you know you don't even need to read the expiration date on your salmon. It just changes the color. Bio-based polymers for crop protection as well. Prills that they look like this. They look exactly like acrylate prills, but they are cellulose-based. They are biodegradable. They are loaded with different chemicals. This is an example that they are loaded with imidacloprid, and that's Duber, which just arrived to campus. He came from Auburn. And we demonstrated that we can encapsulate pesticides or other fertilizers into these cellulose prills and make them last longer in the plant to protect the crops longer than with regular applications by drenching the soil like they usually do in the nursery. So this is a huge promise for the agrichemical or the agri-based industry, because we can reduce the amount of agrichemicals that we input in the soil, we can reduce the leaching, and we can save the farmers a ton of money using cellulose fibers, creating one of those markets as well. Water remediation too, so we can create some structures and assemble those polymers into ways that we can create absorbents that they will uptake contaminant from the water, and with the same concept also we can remediate air as well. So we have demonstrated these materials being able to uptake dyes, toxins, pesticides, bacteria, pathogens, you name it, and we're on the verge to looking into multi-contaminants absorption as well. We're working also in a couple of regional initiatives I wanted to mention in these last few minutes I have with you. This is a regional engine called Bridges that I invite you to visit the website. But this is a project that I bring I've been working with from over for the last 4 years. But we are on the phase 2 of a project that we are looking into using miscanthus and switchgrass fibers to add on the supply chain of forest fiber or like wood fibers to create composite material for automotive construction and packaging, creating an innovation ecosystem that I was mentioning earlier today. How can we use those fibers and how can we create that ecosystem where we are allowed to create new products that they will use the diversified workforce to build an ecosystem in rural areas of the United States. In this case, the area of service is Tennessee in the border with Alabama. And we had the visit of the CEO of the engine, and I'm happy to report that Clemson made it to the core partnership too. So we are part of the engine as well. That will bring a lot of opportunity for our college to be part of that. So in March, we will have the study visit from the National Science Foundation, and we will hear back hopefully later this spring if we make it to the second phase of funding. We are one of the 15 finalists for the engine. Also, the Institute is part of this global initiative that I'm one of the leaders of this group. That is called Enhancing Circular Economy Opportunities for Lignocellulosic Optimized Outcomes and Products, or ECOLOOP for short, which is basically what we did was like a group of us, 15 of us, with a very small community working on bio-based materials across the world, believe it or not, trying to bring the technical people working on advancing these materials and developing products, and bringing life cycle assessment and techno-economical assessment experts, as well as AI and machine learning. How can we bring those tools that we know nothing about it? The technical people, usually is engineers or chemists. What are those tools out there that we can use to remove those barriers for commercialization? How other countries have done it already? How can we create those databases? How can we learn from each other's expertise? So I invite you to think about that, because it's very important, like especially when you're in grad school, you're so focused on your project. When your expertise is very useful in a big scheme of things. What is your big scheme of things? Hopefully think one, and then you can join us. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and we will open the floor for questions. Any questions?
You mentioned workforce development and involving like a lot of like a younger crowd into this industry. What does that look like for that like K through 16 group? Like, how do you get them involved in
That's a great
first string chemistry?
And I that's a great question, and I really, this is a long conversation, but in short, I think that this is a great question to start thinking now in the stage of where you are now, because I came across very late when I had promised in a project that I was gonna do, and I had to like figure it out how to do it. I think that the conversations with the people who is doing that education at the very beginning, you know, like now start visiting those schools and start seeing where are those gaps, because there are gaps everywhere. And then you start seeing the challenges are all the schools, depending on which level they are, all the teachers are like underpaid, overworked. But then there are niches where you can start like working and start answering the right question if you start the conversation early enough. We developed a few ways of engaging with them, creating some lab modules that they were specific to courses that they were existing, and they were welcoming those because they didn't have to do it. Especially in the weather remediation part for environmental education, from a material science perspective, and we take a little detour on environmental science. And then we did also some education and outreach with the communities that we opened it to the communities, but it was targeting like sixth graders, where we had stations that is similar to what the good magic concept is, like teaching kids to how to make paper from recycled magazines and how to like compose with using candy, compostable candy, and then take a walk on the park and see why this is important. So I think that it's important to think about the big picture and start conversations early and start figuring out where do you fit. But it's so important that you don't realize that you really need to go that direction.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. You did mention that you are working also with the mass team. So are you using both Hadoops and softwoods?
No, I think that so far it's only hardwood. Softwood is
They have added yellow poplar now as one of the hardwood species for.
Yeah, I was asking that because my master's thesis was focused on production of 100% timber.
Who do you work with?
Well, I did my master's in Kentucky.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's a whole new opportunity in the South, because we mainly grow softwood, right? With a new opportunity for the growers. I don't know what the timber labs of the world in the world. Sorry.
I think we have moved already with yellow poplar being added to the standards and everything else.
Okay.
But yeah, there are lots of opportunities, especially if underutilized hardwood species. So
Yeah, so you mentioned on that like textile, food, right? So is anybody working on those kind of things in our state, like using wood fibers?
We are working on that. We've been my research group is working on that. We've been working on that for like 5 years, in collaboration with Finland, because they have the state of the art, the processing way of doing it, and they have the patents on doing it. What we are doing is that we are doping them with it. So we are doing the functionalization of the fibers. And there are some companies that are interested, specifically the CDC is very interested on that project, because they are looking into helping the Army, into like Army garment with pesticides in it. But hopefully we'll continue working on that direction with the institute.
It seemed like a lot of these things are really just being developed, so maybe I'm not sure about this, but I was just curious if there are examples of kind of relatively new or like unexpected uses that have gone pretty like mainstream and like are at a commercial level commonly used by everyone.
Well, I will share with you that locally I'm very happy to report that yesterday I visited Georgetown, and we have another time to talk about this, but they are producing insulation panels using wood fibers, like from thermomechanical pulp, that they are like ready to launch their product. And then there are some other products that they are already, bio-based coatings that they are not wood-based, but are like soil-based coatings. I don't know if you're familiar with the Rust-Oleum fiber. Those are like soil-based materials, but they are they fall under our category of products. But yeah, there are a number of materials that they're already making. And you will not see them as much in the US as you see them in Europe. You'll see them a lot more. The carrot and the stick, the regulations, and they make a difference into what you see in the market here versus there. So the smaller companies or the startup companies make it much faster. So the textile company, there is a company called Spinova that they produce textiles that they are commercially available for as a supplier in Scandinavia, that they will arguably never will make it States because of cost. So it's a very complex co-regulation is a business. Any other questions?
I had one, and it's more going back to the whole fiber idea. You talked about how the wood fibers are more sustainable than the using cotton, but I was curious, like, how that also compares to like other fibers that we use, like wool, or going into like the polyester and styrene. I guess.
The properties are really good actually. So they compare the tenacity of the fibers and all that. They check and then they surpass some of the properties too. So especially the steel, so they are like a lot more breathable and they're better overall. Now price becomes the issue again. And then if you look into the whole circularity issue, the life cycle comes much more positive when you're talking about a wood-based fiber than a cotton or a wool fiber. Definitely a plastic base or a polyester. Thank you. Yeah.
So the transition into these new markets for South Carolina, are we going to be relying on industry, or are there government programs that are helping this transition?
Well, we're under heavy conversation with the endowment for poverty and communities, that they sit in a pile of money that they are trying to figure out where to invest it, like smartly. I think that we will see very soon investment from the forest. They are trying to figure out which of these are the most promising and closest to commercialization. They don't want to fund any lower TRLs and try to make sure that they serve the purpose of the endowment. And then also in the regional ways, I think that we are seeing more interest of the state funds to be invested, because the push from the stakeholders is so hard right now because the landowners are desperate for answers. So I think that we are about to see a lot more state answers right now. Now with the federal situation is a very difficult question, but for example, one example to answer your question is this engine. So the TIP program, which is that program where these engines category fall, is one of the only ones that survive the budget from NSF, and it's dedicated to rural to economic development, and it's ultimately to spur industry influx to research. So it's a very circular way to say, like, well, the federal government will fund if the industry comes around and match.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time for fundraising. So you need to answer the question depending on who is asking
Given that all the products that we talked about are majorly focusing in future, and given that the European Union deforestation regulation is coming into action and wood being one of the major products that is into, how do you see the future of wood-based products coming to the market, and how trade going forward? Because then it has to be deforestation free and all those legal actions has to be taken. So how do you see it evolving in the future?
That's a good question. If I would have a crystal ball, I don't know the answer to that. I think that we will have to put some policies in place, because like most of the companies that will ultimately manufacture this, play in the international market. And if we want to play internationally, we have to comply to those regulations. So we will have to be playing by the same rules. So I think that eventually we'll have to like give in. But it's very hard to predict with and again, nobody knows what's going to happen because under this administration, the rules are what they are. Who knows what's going to happen? Very difficult to create new markets with the fluctuation of regulations.
Yeah.
And engage international partnerships more so.
Let's thank.
Yes.
Is there any specific policy that you would like to see that would maybe help open the market to some of these products?
There is specific what?
Just like specific, or I guess not specific, but like general policies that you would want to see, or like people in your field would want to see that would like help expand some of these products into a bigger market?
Yes, but probably won't happen in the next 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can talk about lunch when I'm not doing recording, bro.